Hey everyone over at YouTube, we're just sending out the notification and we will get this party started. We've got a couple of callers and hopefully we'll get a few more people join in. I'd love to hear from a bunch of people on this one. It's not something that necessarily is unique to one or two callers. This is something everyone could weigh in on, I think. So I'm just going to get the link and send out the Discord notification. There it is, callers. You don't need to hear that. I do that every time. All right. Yo, how are you, mate?
I'm doing well. Is my sound okay or too loud?
I'll tell you in 1 second. Let's find out. Hey, Alenia, how you going?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Good. Fred, let's try you again.
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, you're perfect.
Great.
Alrighty. Everyone in the audience, if you want to be in on this one, just throw your hand up. It's really easy. Just right click on your profile picture, stick your hand up. I'll get you in. No pressure though. If you just want to listen in, that's totally fine. Sit in the audience and do your thing. If you want to have your say though, a lot of people have been, it's funny, a lot of people have been commenting like on the subreddit, on the YouTube videos and everything going like, oh, fuck, I wish I'd been a part of this one. Well, now's your chance. This is how you do it. So anyway, what we'll do is, I won't give it a few minutes. We'll get started. If you guys are ready, then I am. Shall we go?
Yeah,
Ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Actually, let me pull up the fucking link first. And there it is. Okay, beautiful. Here we go. So many people have been wondering what is going to be the situation with these servers for Season of Discovery. PvP, PvE, RP, PvP even. Everyone's wondering what the server list is going to look like. Is there going to be an oceanic region? What kind of numbers are we looking at? And how is Blizzard going to address the elephant in the room that is faction balance these days on a PvP server, given what we have seen come to pass over the years with classic servers? So we got a really, really interesting post out of nowhere, completely out of the blue, from Blizzard just about an hour ago. I was in the gym and our friend Balls of Steel tagged me in a post and said, Josh, you've got to do an emergency podcast. And I've come home. I didn't cut the workout short. Don't worry. I got my lift in, and I've come home afterwards, and we're going to break this one down. So joining me in doing so, we've got the amazing Fred Munro. Mate, back for more. How are you?
Doing well. Even better after this news.
Very, very good. I'm glad to hear that. And the equally amazing Alenia. Mate, it's been a while. It's weird because I talk to you all the time, but it's been a while since you've been on the show.
Yeah, it's been a little while. I'm also too excited to be here with the amazing Fred Munro.
Oh, isn't he the best? He's great.
He is.
All right. Mate, you're a celeb. We'll turn you into a bigger celebrity than anyone on this show, Fred. Don't you worry about that. Look, as always, guys, I'll say this multiple times during the call. If you want to join in, if you're sitting there in the Discord audience and you want in, just put your hand up. You can join us. But look, Fred, I'm still kind of digesting this because, like I said, I only had like 3 seconds to look at it while I was pumping iron. You might have a better read on it than I do up to this point. Why don't I let you kind of open us up with what your... why don't you give people a little bit of your summary of what they've said and what your initial thoughts are on it?
Sure. I think there's two major takeaways from here. The first actually doesn't really have to do with PvP at all, but it seems like there's going to be fewer realms and they're going to be mega realms. I think a lot of people were anticipating this, but I think we can look forward to maybe even just one realm type per region. So one US West PvP, one US West PvE, one US East PvP, like that. But they will be super, super layered. They had said during the interviews at BlizzCon that they had improved their tech that made that so they could have many more concurrent players on a single realm. And they said that in the BlizzCon interview about SOD, and it's being reiterated here. So I think that's the first major piece of news is if you're expecting there to be many different realms of the same type on a region, I think that expectation probably will not come to pass. It seems like it's going to be a few realms layered to hell, just like hardcore. I think the second piece of news is that they are thinking about and considering how to deal with faction imbalance on servers. They've given us just a little tease. It's not exactly clear what they're going to do, but they said faction balance or picking a faction might be limited on a server. No extra details about what that means. I have two interpretations of it, but I can go into that later.
Very good. We'll definitely dive deep into the points that you've raised. Alenia, mate, look, there's a couple of extra little teasy tidbits here in this text that we'll break down for sure. But what was your initial reception of this news that, look, you're not going to get, like Fred said, we knew we weren't going to get a lot of realms. They've been good with the tech over the last couple of years. They work stuff out. But the really big news was, hey, we're going to be trying to balance this on the fly via maybe some new tech and potentially, temporarily locking off factions if need be. What's your view of everything?
You know me, I tend not to get very excited about stuff, and I was running around the house screaming, "What is happening? It's giving us action balance." After all these years, I feel like I'm living in an alternate universe where Blizzard actually pays attention to what people have been asking them to actually do in the game, and I'm very excited. And that's coming from someone that normally plays PvE, like Season of Discovery and rolling PvE server. But, for my PvP homies, I know this is huge. And, I don't know what I'm more excited about. The fact that they're actually going to be bringing in faction balance. I'm not sure exactly how they're going to do it. But the fact that they're bringing it in is huge. But I actually think I might actually be more excited about the fact that Blizzard is doing stuff that people are asking for.
Yeah, the team does seem pretty active, and this has been my thing, my sort of subtext of Season of Discovery this whole time, the whole 2 to 3 weeks that we've known about it, where I've been like, look, I sort of described it as it might be a beautiful mess once it launches, but like I say that with all the love and affection in the world. What I sort of mean by that is, look, this thing isn't going to be perfect on launch. It's going to require a lot of work as an ongoing project, an ongoing and developing game. But I really get the impression that when stuff does break, and it will break, when stuff does break, this classic team, is going to jump on the ball pretty quickly when it gets dropped. They're really they're throwing it out there pretty well early that they're going to be a bit more involved than what we've been used to over the years. Wouldn't you think, Alenia?
I feel like they've been becoming gradually more and more involved since Classic first came out. I know we were really, what's the word? I feel like we were really not confident in this engagement with us before Classic came in, and when it actually started, and we started seeing more and more regular posts from the Classic developers, I feel like, people would speak up about it, and, you'd have a whole bunch of people, I'll do my best Josh impression voice, on Reddit going, "Oh, that's just hopium. They're not going to really listen to us. You're just imagining things." And, when Season of Discovery came out and they announced all of these features that they were bringing in that people were excited about, everyone was excited to see it. And then, like you said, we had this post out of the blue, just casually dropping on us things that we've been asking for years in regards to faction balance. It's just I still can't process it. It's crazy.
I'll get to processing it more. Why can't I speak English? It more as this call goes on. Fred, we'll turn to you. Look, I think it's probably best, even though it's all well and good for me to say, "Oh, I hate it when people do this," and then I fucking do it, obviously, so everyone can bitch at me for being a fuckwit and a hypocrite. But Fred, I think it is probably best if in this particular circumstance that we set the platform with the precise wording that Blizzard provided us via the blue post. Now, this post came via Tom Ellis, who is the gentleman who works on the he's a senior producer of WoW. He's the gentleman that works on the server and live ops team that was out on Twitter the other day asking for suggestions for server names, that I will be beyond devastated if they don't choose the suggestions that I threw in regarding ability names. But anyway, Tom's come up and he said, look, amongst other, there's a lot of fluff at the start, but then he gets to crunch time and he says the following. So bear with me, everyone, for 30 seconds to 60 seconds while I read this. And I'll do it in full dramatic fashion as I envision Tom would have delivered the news. We hear you. And with Season of Discovery, we're going to try something new. This season's PvP realms have been designed to maintain faction balance as they grow. Yes, this is actually happening. However, there is a potential cost to this faction balance that we want to make sure you're aware of. If one faction is significantly more dominant on a PvP realm, there is a very real likelihood that faction selection may be temporarily limited on that realm. That said, our overarching goal for Season of Discovery is for it to be a fun and smooth experience, and we are prepared to change course if necessary. Your requests for faction balance have been heard loud and clear. This is a new direction for us and one that we're excited to try. Again, this feature will only be turned on for our Season of Discovery PvP realms. You will always be able to roll either faction as you wish on a PvE realm. We encourage everyone who isn't committed to the challenges and difficulties of PvP to consider a non-PvP realm for Season of Discovery. As an old WoW veteran myself, I can tell you, playing on a balanced faction PvP realm can be a double-edged sword. There are awesome and fun new challenges that await, but also the potential for hindrances that you may not expect. Your favorite farming spots might be a bit more spicy than you're used to. So Fred, having heard all that, I love every fucking word of that segment that I've just read out. Let's maybe... Look, you said the simple part first. Yes, fewer servers. The tech is great now. We had mega servers before. We're going to have mega servers now. They've really worked out layering, and that's fantastic. We saw what happened in hardcore. They told us 2 weeks ago at BlizzCon or whatever that they're going to be leaning on the lower server numbers. That's wonderful. So they've said here a handful of servers, maybe per region. So people are like, does that mean 7, 8, or 9? It means a handful. So, we're probably talking about, like you said, Fred, 2 PvE, 2 PvP, and maybe an RP PvP, and divide it up between like East, West Coast or whatever. I don't know. EU, something similar, but there's not going to be a shitload of servers. That's easy. That's the easy news. The stuff that we can really sink our teeth into is what they mean by balancing on the go, and also the pros and cons of having temporary faction, having your faction selection perhaps temporarily disabled if a server gets too alliance heavy, simply graying out that selection for a select period of time, forcing people to roll Horde if they really want to be on this server, and then seeing how it goes from there. Fred, so this is an incredibly long question, but I know you've got the attention span to keep with me here. Fred, a private server relatively recently in the last 6 months went with this bold decision of, forcing a faction lock if things grew out of hand population-wise. And my understanding was from reading their subreddit at the time was it didn't go down particularly well. And I've been an advocate of faction locks in the past. Many people have. And I'm wondering if it is a thing that it's far sexier in theory than it is in practice, or do you think that this is a good thing and this will work?
So to answer the question directly, faction locks are not my desired solution to faction imbalance. My desired solution is gerrymandering layers, which I think they can do if they have mega servers. Mm-hmm. But I think the first question is we have to determine what are they actually saying here. So the meat of this is, however, there is a potential cost to this faction balance that we may want to make sure you're aware of. If one faction is significantly more dominant on PvP realm, there is a very real likelihood that faction selection may be temporarily limited on that. What does that mean? I think there's 2 possible ways to interpret it. The first way is that you won't be able to actually even create a character. That'll just be grayed out if there's too many characters of one faction. And the other one, which would, I think, be a lot more impactful to fixing faction imbalance, but also would have a much bigger impact on your play experience, would be to make it that, if you already had a character that exists on that server, if you like click enter realm, then it would say, sorry, there's too many horde on the server, there's too many alliance, and then would enter you into a faction specific queue. As far as I can tell, those are the only two real ways that this could be interpreted, but those are different solutions. One prevents you from making a new character, and the other one actually is a bit more extreme, and even if you have a character, it prevents you from entering. But to circle back to your question, I think either of these solutions are not, I think they can have a detrimental impact on the realm's health. Let's suppose it's just not creating new characters. That's not really going to solve the issue, right? Because the issue you have with a faction imbalanced realm is that all of the existing players of the minority faction, because they're outnumbered and because they're having a bad play experience of being camps and whatnot, they all leave the server. It's not because you have a bunch of new people rolling level 1s in the dominant faction and then leveling to 60 and then all of a sudden griefing the players who are in the minority faction. No, the minority faction players left long before that process even happened. So all you've done basically is made it so that you can't get any new characters on the server because no one in the minority faction is going to roll the dying minority faction, and the people in the majority faction are locked from rolling a new character on that server. So it just will kill a server. I worry. So I agree with you that maybe it seems sexy at first, but I think it could have a detrimental impact on the way the server works. That said, I'm still happy they are thinking of some solution, and I could go on and on painting a picture of why they need to do something. I mean, we saw in original Classics release that the second they released Phase 2, everyone was watching Ironforge.pro. There's 20 healthy servers. Maybe they're 60-40 Phase 2 releases. Next week they're 70-30. Next week they're 95-5. The week after that they're start quote PvP end quote. They're not PvP servers. They're 100-0 PvE servers. They're PvP in name only. We saw that happen. We ran the experiment. We did it with a whole bunch of servers, and with the exception of Grobulus and then Whitemane, although Whitemane ended up dying later, they all died. We saw what happened. So you do need to do something to control it. And I think if they have layers, especially if it's a mega server and everyone's on the same server, you can just gerrymander the layers, and I think that solves it without getting in the way of play experience.
There's a lot to digest there from what you've said, and like you said, it's more like guessing games of where this might go. But I'm with you. I'm super excited that something is being done. I think this is phenomenal news, and I don't want people to get confused that we're sort of shitting on the concept by diving into the weeds of how they might practically roll this out. It's more just conjecture on our part as opposed to thinking it's not a direction they should have gone in. But you're right, Fred, to point out, I actually fucked that up a little bit where I cherry picked a little bit of the blue post where there's a bit right above it as well that I should have added, where he talks about getting the population spread out amongst the servers and introducing sporadic queues so that the servers kind of all equalize a little bit to the point that they're happy with, to ensure that all realms are sort of about the same, which if they're keeping an eye on that as well, I think is phenomenal. Hey Tim, sorry, thanks so much for putting your hand up. How are you, man?
Good, yeah, excited. Obviously, it's always fun to get these kind of news drops on a random Monday for us Americans the week of Thanksgiving.
It's always good to get news. Tim, hit me with your first impressions real quick.
Yeah, I think excited like everybody else on the call. It's it's one of those things where you really do wonder if they had made these decisions a lot earlier, how many servers could they have saved?
Well, it depends. It depends. I mean, my impression, and maybe I'm giving the team credit where I don't know the situation. They've really made it sound through interviews at BlizzCon and I think in this blue post that this is like developing tech.
Yeah, that's true. It could be. I have no idea what the tech is behind the scenes. It just like because for me with Classics launch in 2019, that was the one thing that was like, I think most people would say was the failure, right? Was the way that servers were handled. They just got spun out of control, and a lot of people, quit, and a lot of servers became completely imbalanced, and obviously mega servers and all that.
Well, I'm glad you raised that, though, Tim. Sorry, I'm glad you raised that. Let me drag you off on that tangent before we sort of get into celebrating where we're going, sort of looking back at where we've come from. I mean, I think that Blizzard has realized, they've had the opportunity now to look back through years of classic data, and they know what their mistakes were, and to look back at that and go, all right, we're launching the next big thing for classic. Like, we've learnt a lot of server lessons along the way. Some, things we regret, some things we don't, blah, blah, blah. Let's make sure that we learn from our mistakes and get it right this time. And seeing the amount of attention and energy that they seem to be dedicating to server balance now, I'm with you. Like, I lament what happened to servers over the years since 2019, but if there is a good faith gesture being made to be like, hey, we played the game too. We know it fucking sucks when a PvP server turns into a 99-1. We know it fucking sucks when one server is infinitely bigger than another and everyone just wants to be on the mega server. So we're going to do what we can to make this an enjoyable experience for anyone that plays fucking Season of Discovery, regardless of what server you hit a character selection screen. So there is no such thing as a fucking wrong choice. I'm going to do the leap of faith and hope that, the practice goes along with the good faith that they're displaying. Do you know what I'm saying? Don't you think that the past mistakes almost help?
Well, I mean, not help. I always hate that argument. That's like a Game of Thrones when, I guess spoilers for Game of Thrones, like after Sansa gets sexually assaulted and later she's like, I'm actually happy that happened to me because it made me a better person. Like, no, let's not do that.
Tim, sorry, mate, you're breaking up. Is your connection's pretty ordinary? Are you on a headset or a phone?
Is it pretty bad? No, I'm just trying to get my mic in a better position.
You're all good. Keep going. See how we go.
But like, no, you're definitely right that I'm glad they're learning from their mistakes. That's all we can do, right? I think when Classic came out, I think they treated the server population and balance pretty like blasé, right? I just don't think they thought it would be that big of a deal. And then it was. And I think that you're right, that since then they have slowly moved. And they mentioned in the post that they learned lessons with the hardcore servers. And they didn't do, they only had the one hardcore server really on each in each region. And it's been great. A lot of layers, but it feels populated, even though like I've definitely noticed there are fewer people playing right now than there were initially, which makes sense, but it still feels really populated and all that. So I think that's great that they sort of implemented a little lessons in hardcore, seemed to go well, and they're now passing those on. And because like you said, that's all you can do. All you can do is learn from your mistakes, get better. And Season of the Discovery so far has seemed to be a lot of, like, it's almost the season of, hey, we're listening to you. And that trend continues.
Well,
this go. Which is sort of, I forgot to make this point earlier, and I agree. I think it relates exactly to the 2019 realm, which is it was phase 2 in particular that really started the downwards trend. Like, I think a lot of the servers were healthy, even though they had imbalanced population on a PvP server in phase 1. It was phase 2, specifically when killing other players is the end game objective, that all of a sudden, when you're on an unbalanced PvP realm, it becomes terrible because killing other players is the objective. And if you're imbalanced, then you're being farmed by like 5 times the amount of people that that you are in your faction. And so specifically for Season of Discovery, they have said that killing other players is the end game. That's the Ashen's Veil PvP. That is the end game. And it seems like they're going to do something similar for the 40 cap and the 50 cap. And there's also going to be world PvP objectives for the 60 cap, I would imagine. So if their goal is basically to unleash this phase 2-esque thing on the realm, which is what we saw specifically is what killed the 2019 servers, then yes, they need to put something in place to address faction imbalance, because it was the fact that there was faction imbalance that caused the servers to die when killing other players is the endgame objective.
Completely agree. Alenia, I'll throw it over to you just to piggyback off of Fred's point there, which I think is really, really important to raise. The wording of this blue post only goes to add to the mystery of what's going on with PvP in the Season of Discovery, because they hinted at BlizzCon. They're more heavily hinting now that there are some prizes up their sleeves for these PvP servers that we are not used to. There might be some new shit. Now, this has got PvP players licking their lips, but as Fred's saying, if PvP is, whether you call it oddly or not, going to become much more of an emphasis in this Season of Discovery, it is just so crucial, don't you think, that they absolutely nail this stuff down, that they don't have people quitting or server hopping to create ridiculous imbalances, because the name of the game here will be either, world PvP, killing players to win the game, so to speak, and you can't ruin it. Like, they're on it.
Yeah, look, I agree that they need to get this right, and I have a feeling that part of the reason, perhaps, that they've given us faction balance for this is this whole concept of bringing in the mega server. They're going to have to do it. Fred was saying earlier, he was talking about phase 2 in Classic, and when the World PvP basically went on the menu. I was on Aragorn, and it was a bloodbath, and I'm going to respectfully disagree, Fred, because even on a realm like Aragorn, that was relatively balanced between Horde and Alliance. The fighting was still very thick and fierce. So we had a bad time, even if it was a relatively balanced realm as well. If you're looking at a mega server where you're gonna, basically be piling even more people into one locale, obviously they're going to be relying on layering to keep the server under control in terms of, the population that you're seeing, that you interact with. I would, I guess, in an ideal world, like to see gerrymandering of some description, to keep the balance between the factions relatively even on those layers, but I don't think that's practical or would even work if they brought some technology in. Just because larger servers like Aragorn at Classic, you would see some natural segregation to avoid PvP, even though it was a PvP server, and you'd start to see Alliance players on one server and more Horde players on like another layer, and it would just constantly happen after each reset. So I guess the question I have there is, how are they going to manage that? Because it's one thing to temporarily limit your ability to go into the game to keep the faction balance like relatively even, but it's another when you're actually in the game. You might have like 10 or maybe even 20 layers on some of these mega servers that may end up with fairly segregated layers between Alliance and Horde. You might end up in a situation where you've got layers where you're not going to see anyone of the opposite faction just because it's become so segregated. Is it fixing one issue by like limiting or trying to balance the number of people that sign up Horde or Alliance when they log in, and creating another on the layers?
Hey, no name. Well, sorry, you go, Fred, and then I'll throw it to no name. Go for it.
First, I definitely agree that I think that's a really good point, which is, okay, you've limited, but let's say you go with a solution where you can't log in on a certain character or you can't create a new character. Fine, you've limited it that way, but that does nothing to address the fact that still might be the fact that layers 1 through 10 are 100-0 Alliance, and then layers 11 through 20 are 100-0 Horde, and that does nothing to address the issue. So I think that's a really good point that Alenia brought up, which is if you have a mega server and layers, that's something you need to think about. And so I think with respect to the gerrymandering point, I think you just have to take more aggressive solutions to force people on layers. So you take a flight point, that might layer you. You use your Hearthstone, that might layer you. You're in a party with someone else and they invite you, that you might drag them to your layer instead of the other way around, right? And you do stuff like that, and you can keep the layers relatively faction balanced. I think that's the answer to that. And then with respect to the point about how our Gaul was still bloodbath, absolutely. I was on Whitemane, which is also relatively faction balanced. That too was a total bloodbath. But at the end, and it was very tough to do a lot of things. Understood, absolutely. That was my experience too. But I always go back to that one video that was infamous on the Classic WoW subreddit. I don't remember what server it was, but it was that rogue who was going from Thorium Point to BRD, and he's in stealth. And as he walks all the way from Thorium Point to BRD, there's quite literally a group of like 3 Horde every 10 yards. Like, he passes hundreds and hundreds of Horde who are desperately trying to farm whatever like few Alliance scraps have to make that run from Thorium Point to BRD. That's not good gameplay for them, but it's also not good gameplay for the Alliance that has to corpse run 50 times just so he do his BRD. And I don't, at least for me on White Mane, I don't know what your experience was on Argyle, but there was never anything like that on White Mane.
I got really good at running that gauntlet as an alliance player. Like I would have like a set standard run. I'd come through like the points where you're gonna die, like a horde rogue or something on the way in. Yeah, you're absolutely on the money. That was definitely a big thing for quite a long period of time. Very traumatic.
All right, we'll throw it over to No Name Miller, mate. Thanks so much for putting your hand up. How are you?
Hey, thanks. Can you guys hear me all right?
Yeah, absolutely. Coming through loud and clear, mate.
Perfect. I just wanted to piggyback on. We're in a unique experience where our level cap's going to be at level 25. This is going to kind of lower that barrier of re-rolling. If the one faction is getting too dominated and you can't log in, I could just, I'll roll on Alliance. It's level 25. Who cares? It's going to take me a couple days to hit max. I think Blizzard's going to use that if they really do have new tech, that they'll get a lot of information just from this level 25 cap, and they can adjust it more accordingly going through as they increase those level bands.
Absolutely, I agree. I mean, I think I've sort of hinted at it on the podcast already, going and I'm glad you mentioned that. Like, these level brackets are a godsend for the developers as well. Not only do they keep us at a gate and it lets them continue to work on segments of the game that are nowhere near done yet. I'm sort of saying that level 60 content that's been teased, that's not fucking done. Like, the team needs another 6 months to work on that. And these level brackets really help them out. But it also just lets them maintain and really manage us in just an easier environment that is the 25 bracket, like you say. And I think that getting to watch us all band together in one area, maybe that's Ashenvale or whatnot, they can figure out what the servers can and can't handle and then adjust accordingly. So it's a really good point to bring up with the level brackets is there. Thanks for bringing that up, mate. Mate, feel free to stick around. We'll be talking for a little bit. Guys, I just want to introduce a friend, actually. Thanks so much, Josh. He just pointed me out to a tweet that he sent out 20 minutes ago that adds just a little bit of extra context to what we're talking about. So I might just read this out and get your guys' reactions. It doesn't unveil anything huge, but it's a good little sort of talk on the topic. So again, sorry, bear with me, guys, while I read this out for about 45 seconds. We're launching with as few realms as possible, and enforced faction balance is new territory for us, and as much as this is something that has been asked for, this may come with some growing pains. We've tried to be hands-off with faction balance in the past, and without fail, PvP servers will slant towards one faction after a long enough time frame. Put bluntly, people love to PvP, but they also hate to lose and really hate to get locked out of a raid some nights. Trying to do this will put you in a position where you may sometimes lose a fight. My hope is that we can all get okay with this and that it works out. If you look inward and can't honestly say that you're okay with getting delayed on raid night, PvE realms might be preferable for you this time around. If nothing else, this will be interesting, and we are hopeful that we're able to preserve a balance. Like most things this season though, we're taking a chance on it, and we hope you can remain patient and flexible as we grow into this new world of Warcraft. So, if I can throw this one out to the crowd, come one, come all, I think the takeaway there is, like we've kind of been saying, we're trying. This is strange new territory for us. They might be, dabbling with new tech that they haven't quite got a handle on yet, but they're fucking trying, and they've got goals that they want to strive for in mind. Look, some players might hear that, and, you see some of these comments around the subreddit, I don't agree with these comments, but the eye rolling of ugh, this whole fucking season is just them doing a public beta. It gives them an excuse to have people subbed while they work out all their shit for whatever it is they're actually doing next. I disagree with that take, but I'll talk more on that later. But I don't doubt that, like I've said, there's going to be some kinks to be worked out here, particularly if we're dabbling in new shit that they're not used to. How do you guys feel about them at least having a crack and maybe getting it wrong as opposed to not doing it at all?
New title for SOD, Season of Developers.
Yeah, Season of Development. Yeah, absolutely. For sure. We go,
I understand that they're concerned that that WoW players tend to fall into a bit of a rut of just being negative Nancy's about everything new that they try. And I would definitely agree with him, in respects to like seeing like BlizzCon recently. There's a lot of new people on the team that, are a little bit younger, a little bit fresher. And, we don't want to dent them and damage them too much when they're bringing us all these new ideas and, driving it through to the point where it's actually having an impact in delivering things that we've been asking for as a community in the game. So I think it really is important to just take a moment and step back and appreciate that they are trying to do something new. And like anyone that you deal with that's trying something new, there needs to be some encouragement, hopefully some positive feedback, not just, worrying about what might happen, putting in our expertise as players, knowing what can happen, from private servers or other situations historically, applying to these changes brought in. We can provide our expertise and our input, but we should also be taking a moment to provide our support as well.
Fred, you were going to say something before. Let me just lead you in. Sorry, mate. Let me just lead you in with this one thing I want to interject with, and just I'll lob one over the plate for you, so to speak, which is good given my baseball analogy that's coming up. But I said about a year ago on the podcast that in regards to what they were doing with the server in totality, I wanted to see the classic team swing for the fences and strike and potentially strike out, as opposed to just bunt. And now look, some people might say, hey man, fucking bunting wins games, puts people on base. Yeah, but it doesn't put bums in seats, does it? I think that argument for me still applies to the tech side of things too. I'd rather see them go for a home run than just, play it safe with what we know. How do you feel given what Alenia said as well?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you and with Alenia. I mean, it should come as no surprise, and I have Tim here to testify to it. I've always been in favor of big changes to the game, including before Classic was even announced, and I had many arguments over this Discord with this very person. So of course my answer is I'm super pumped, I'm super excited, and I'm glad they're taking a look at it. I did want to say specifically on the tweet, I think what this confirms, because I remember I was saying earlier there's maybe two different ways to look at it, either locking making characters or a faction-based queue. If they're saying you might get locked out on raid nights, again, that's what he says in the tweet, that seems to me to confirm that what they're looking at here is a faction-based queue. So I imagine you'd log into the game, and then assuming you could roll both a Horde and Alliance character on the same PvP realm, which you couldn't do in actual vanilla, but I assume they're going to allow that here, especially if they're going to do faction-based queues. Then, like when you click on the your Alliance character and you click Enter Realm, instead it'll say there's too many Alliance on the server, and it'll enter you into a queue. So that's what I read. You might get locked out on raid night. I think this does confirm that interpretation that it's a faction-based queue rather than a lock on creating new characters.
Oh, sorry, Fred. My interpretation of the tweet was he was more talking about PvP fighting and saying like, just remember, PvP realms aren't for the faint of heart. And if you're worried about being late to your raid, these PvP servers could be fucking hell on earth. So, don't go there don't go there if you're not okay with that. That was my interpretation.
Right. Absolutely. What I'm replying to here is, if you look inward and can't honestly say you're okay with getting delayed on raid night, PvE realms might be preferable this time. I'd see no other way to interpret that sentence other than faction-based queues on a PvP realm.
Oh, that I disagree with you. That's what I'm saying. I think he's just talking about like people camping outside the raid instance.
Oh, sorry. I totally misinterpreted. Okay, fair enough. Maybe so. I mean, fair enough. I could be wrong for sure.
I just want to say I don't think it is from the tweet, but like my mind immediately went to where Fred is at. So I can see that people might try to see if they could use that temporary limitation as a way to potentially grief like other teams, perhaps raiding Worldverse or something like that for the server. I would see that real life PvP shenanigans kicking in.
I'm going to throw it to Jack and get him involved in the mix. Agren's here listening in. Agren, if you choose to, mate, you can end the debate so that we're not sitting here arguing about the interpretation of your words like the fucking Constitution. Jack T. Blade, mate, how are you? Can't hear you, brother. Is your mic all good? We'll throw it back to you, Jack. That's all right, man. Hey, No Name Miller, I'm so sorry, mate. We've just been absolutely going nuts on all of those points. Anything on what we've talked about there?
No, initially I thought the same thing Fred did about not being able to make it to raid night. And my first thought was, okay, so I'm going to need a second account. If I can't make it to the raid, I'm going to have a second account with the other faction so I can go gank my raid. So they can't raid either.
As you do. Look, guys, let me ask the real question that we've kind of danced around but not dived into. How do you feel about that potential situation where, you've organized with your guild, we're playing on this server, we're playing this faction, you go to create your character, you hit that button to put your character into the world, and it says, sorry, not right now, your faction's fucking full.
I mean, I think for me personally, that's always been one of those things that's sort of in the same vein of when they say, hey man, we're just adding these boosts in that you can buy to basically max level because of all of those people who are like, I just want to play with my friends at max level and I can't. And it's like, no, I mean, I'm sure that exists, but it's like you're doing that for money. I've always found that argument for why they haven't done it before, right? Of the like, well, we don't want people to log in and not be able to create a character of whatever faction they want. It's like, we are all adults. We can all, I think anybody who plays WoW would accept the sacrifice of, hey, you can't get onto the server because it's already max population and it's really well balanced or whatever, or you can't make more Horde characters here because it's already overpopulated with Horde. I think we all take that sacrifice to maintain really good server, because if they do that with one server, then hopefully that means there are other servers that are also balanced you can go to.
I want to agree. I want to agree with you, Tim. I want to. My heart is saying fucking cheer for Tim. He's right. The only issue is, and I'd love to hear from you other guys on this one, the only issue is, whilst we think that in theory all these, reasonable and mature WoW players would accept that, in a world where you want 50-50, that if that faction is full, that's okay, you go elsewhere, they'll accept it. Like I said, I do remember a private server doing this recently, and the outcry was notable. And even amongst the sweaty private server players that you would think really understand about faction balance, oh, what do you mean I can't play with my mate fucking Johnny? And, the whole thing about playing with friends, I've sort of, as I've gotten older and as I've stopped playing by myself as much, I sort of do realize more why it is so important. The Grinchy's growing a heart over here. But, I just think that the outcry would still be massive, to be honest with you.
Well, I want to just as a counter question to that, because obviously I think it is important to play with your friends. That's all great, but when you say a private server had an outcry to that, now how much do you think of that was genuine, and how much was because they want to, as we've seen, sweaty players tend to want to push a PvP server into the realm of 99% alliance and one player on Horde or whatever. So how much is it genuine, oh man, you saying I can't play with my best friend Johnny? And how much is it a cover? Because there's been a lot of that over the history of WoW Classic and WoW in general, of just this outcry claiming moral superiority that is actually kind of nonsense.
I would point out, though, that Nost and Elysium both had balanced servers, and those were sweaty servers. But I do agree with you just generally. I think that they should do this, and there will be an outcry. But regardless of the outcry, if it's either this or nothing, they got to do this. Again, I think gerrymandered servers would be better. You don't have or layers rather. You don't have to deal with a faction-based queue. But this is so much better than doing nothing, because we saw what played out in phase 2. I see no reason to suspect that anything different would happen this time around.
I agree, and just my whole thing. Sorry, I'm not saying, I don't want to get people sort of misinterpreting me here. I'm not saying, there will be an outcry and thus this thing shouldn't exist. I'm just saying that whilst we all think that we're mature people who understand why we can't be a certain faction, if you think there will be no outcry, you are mistaken. But with the people that do blow up about this, I agree with you, Fred. I have long been, I've said it many times on the podcast, the health of the server comes well before the health, the enjoyment. Well, this is a weird thing to say. Well before the preferences of the individual, I should say. So, like, if Timmy, Johnny, and Larry want to play together, but Larry was a bit late to the party and didn't fucking create his character on time, I know it sucks, but now your faction's locked and you can't play with your mates. The health of the server should override that unfortunate circumstance where you can't play with your two best mates. Maybe your best mates will re-roll for you if they are really your best mates. I don't know. I know it's a shitty situation to put forward, and a lot of people are going to write me hate mail going, "You're a fucking cunt, Josh, blah, 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 splitting up guilds, all the organization, blah, blah, blah." I get that. But for me, it's just always the health of the server is more important. It just... I don't know. I get really passionate about this, but people can tell me why I'm a fucking idiot. But does anyone share that sentiment that it's server health first, even though it does prop up unfortunate circumstances?
No, I totally agree. The health of the server is really important. And we've all seen what happens when it gets lopsided. People just lose interest and leave, especially on a PvP server. So, the fact that, Blizzard's putting their hand up and saying, okay, we're going to have a go at this. We're going to try something different that you've been asking for. Let's see if we can make it work. I think is fantastic and probably showing, a fair bit of leadership on their part and probably more faith in the community than we deserve, to be honest, at this point, considering some of our behaviour in the past around PvP servers. But, at the end of the day, they're Blizzard servers. They're the only ones that can control how balanced they are and how they behave. And I'm sure that they will wield that as responsibly as they can with these new ideas and with the best of intentions to, stop us from doing to ourselves what we tend to do on every other PvP server for a couple of years. So, if we keep doing the same thing, we all know how it's going to go. So let's see what happens when they change the tune a little bit. And, who knows? This could actually work out perfectly.
Go, mate.
Just real quick, I think Beaver Beanie, good name, makes a good point in chat of having the level max at 25 and the banning system is going to make so if you do run into the issue of you've been playing a little bit, you've got a character to 25, Johnny comes on in and is like, "Oh, buddy, I can't join. Your faction is locked on the server." Well, all right, it's super easy to re-roll because getting to level 25 takes not a lot of time. So that's actually an interesting thought I hadn't had is, as a general thing, do we think the process of this sort of level gating every once in a while, is that going to, by the end, make more balanced servers? Or do we think that would lead to more, less balance? I hadn't thought about it.
Well, right. So long as there's something in place that, they're saying they're going to do here, that enforces faction balance, then yes, it absolutely will lead to a more balanced faction at the end. Because by the time the 50 gates open and you're at 60, well, now you're super attached to your character. Hell, you've already done 3 raids, multiple times with that character: BFD, Scarlet Monastery, and Sunken Temple. Random guesses. So yes, I think that would lead to a better faction balance, assuming that they were enforcing from the get-go. If they had nothing enforcing it, then the fact that it's easy to re-roll does just the opposite, right? If you're on the minority faction, there's nothing stopping you from re-rolling to the majority faction, then everyone just does it because you're level 25. It's nothing lost to be in the majority faction, not be camping.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
But because they're enforcing it, then you're right, re-rolling is easy. That said, I would really like to see them make sure that you can roll opposite factions on a PvP server, because that will help encourage this, right? Because if your buddy Johnny wants you to re-roll, and to re-roll you have to delete your horde character so you can roll an alliance character on that PvP realm, that does suck. Whereas if you can keep that up and then also roll an alliance on that same PvP server, then you're good.
Sorry.
Any issues of collusion? Devil Sword Mafia has happened already, but I never thought about the idea of with Season Discovery of being able to make a Horde and Alliance character on the same server. That seems antithetical to a PvP realm, but would there be any issues with that, or are there ways that you could also try to stop that sort of thing from happening?
Cross-faction collusion happens anyway, right?
Yeah.
It's as easy as rolling up another account.
Or of course, the solution I said right before SOD BlizzCon was make Devil Sword Mafia not exist by making Ungoro Crater Agurabashi Arena solo PvP zone. You're free for all, baby. You're in the jungle.
Like, you
Yes.
drop that advice and be like, fucking thank me later, Blizzard.
It's not going to happen because you have to have the ability to roll both factions because these are going to be mega servers. There's not going to be as many servers available as there was in the past, and you can't just like reduce the number of servers and then like make people have to pick a faction.
Yeah, the only interesting thing from the mega server point is like if they layer the fuck out of it, you won't necessarily notice that you're on a mega server. But, you know, the auction house is an interesting one for me because I don't necessarily think your auction house would be mega layered. So whatever effect that a mega population has on item prices, we shall see. But look, guys, I just want to bring up the following point. This we could sit here and talk for 3 hours, quite frankly, and I don't want to about this because otherwise we'll never be able to talk about other topics. But on the episode I produced before launch, but I really want to hear your guys' thoughts on this really intriguing sentence from that blue post where he says there are awesome and fun new challenges that await, but also the potential for hindrances that you may not expect. Your favorite farming spots might be a bit more spicy than you used to. So. Well, the implication there is obviously, you know, it's about the implication is fucking, you know, new shit, new annoyance, like new good stuff, new potentially annoying stuff, and, you know, more world PvP incentives perhaps, or just, you know, where you usually go and farm your shit, there will be a lot of people fighting in that area, so just be on guard. If I threw it out to the crowd and said, when we think of potential new stuff in the PvP, you know, biosphere, if you will, for this season, what are you thinking they might introduce? Like, we obviously tantalize over new ranking items and things like that, but is there anything else you think they might do or you might want to see?
I wonder if they might add like the bounty system, right? They have the bounty system in retail. Am I wrong, or am I thinking of other games?
No, they have it in retail.
Yeah, so they might add something like that, right? Like an Ashen Veil.
It made me think of runes. Like,
Like runes that are gated by PvP.
not so much that, but like when we get up into the higher levels, like say we get to level 25, obviously like some of the runes are going to be available in your starter area. I think they said like at level 2 you might see something. But at like level 25, Horde and Alliance druids may have to get the rune from the exact same spot, and it might be like a group quest. So now you have both factions converging on one spot, fighting over something.
Can I just say my one concern, and this has come up a bunch of places on the subreddit and whatnot and amongst the Countdown Discord. My one concern, and I'm sure the Classic team is all fucking over this, but I just feel the need to say it out loud anyway. Huge concern is if you've gone to all the effort of designing new quests, new hiding spots for these amazingly powerful runes, it goes without saying that dickheads will find a way to stop people from getting them. You know, camping a particular, if there's like a treasure box in, you know, fucking the middle of nowhere in Arathi or whatever, and you're going to get the opposite faction rogue sitting there in stealth, just making sure that no one comes along and is able to open that chest and get their fucking, you know, Bladestorm or whatever it might be. You know what I mean? It's a tough one because you want to encourage world PvP and you want to encourage emergent gameplay, but if it gets to the point where I literally have to log on at 3 o'clock in the morning to try and get this thing, and even then there's still going to be a couple of rogues there, and I guess I just don't get this ability for the whole season of Discovery because it can be locked out by the other faction. I don't know, some people might applaud that, some people might not. How do you guys feel about that, and is it a concern for you?
I'm all for it. I think that PvP happens on a PvP server, and if you can't get to where you need to be by yourself, then you go get some mates. That's how it is on a PvP server.
I think that if there's a mega server this issue might be a little overstated, right? Okay, there's a rogue. Surely there's not a rogue camping, my dual wield ruin on all 30 layers. Surely, surely, maybe so.
There'll be 30 different rogues all camping.
right. Maybe, but then I agree with you, Alenia. In that case, yeah, I mean, like, how? Just grab like 3 dudes. Maybe the sweaty guild locks down like 3 layers. Maybe Grizzly's farming. Everyone trying to get their their divine sacrifice or whatever. On like 4 layers. But okay, you just go to another layer. I don't think it's a big issue. Sorry, go ahead.
If I can just jump in there for a second. That I have to say, honestly, what's one of the things that I have reservations about with the mega server for PvP, and that is the ability to just layer out of combat, layer out of a difficult situation, like avoid the conflict. That is definitely one aspect of it that I'm not overly stoked about, because you'd see that a lot, even with like the original classic servers. People just go, "Oh, I don't want to have to deal with this today," and you just change layer. And I mean, that was the solution, but it kind of just takes away from like the conflict angle of PvP as well.
I'd respectfully disagree, and I'll tell you why. I mean, I don't think there's plenty of avenues of conflict. I love world PvP. I love PvP servers, and I don't want to have people sort of say like, "Oh, you don't really like PvP, Josh, if you don't want this in the game." It's one of those situations where, I mean, a lot of people like to, and this might go out to some of you guys on this call. We're all mates. You can call me a fuckwit if you want. I'm not going to get upset. But I feel like, and I'm not talking about you guys personally, but like in Discord chat, I feel like there's a lot of very puffed out chests and tough talk about, bruh, it's a fucking PvP server. If you can't handle that, fucking get with the program, mate. Like, yeah, we're going to fucking camp that shit and you better be fucking okay with it. Mate, I just feel like you guys talk a fucking tough game now when it is a game-changing ability locked behind a guild saying, you're not getting this. And quite frankly, no one's getting it. Fuck, your tunes will change. I fucking guarantee you. But anyway, I've got no drama with guilds locking off, areas for funsies and like, oh shit, I've got a corpse camp to this raid, blah, blah, blah. But when it's like an ability that you need to do certain things and really alters the game in a rather dramatic fashion for you, that's the one unique circumstance that I'm sort of highlighting here. I just think it's a concern for me. But hey, I'm more than happy to be told I'm the fucking idiot here. Trust me.
Mate. Stories come from, when you get that conflict and difficulty and challenge and frustration and all the bullshit of things escalating. That's where it comes from. Not from the everyone gets a first prize in the grade 10 running race. It's like that's where all the stories come from.
All right.
Yeah, I do think the 2 points against that, Josh, for me is like, one, how often has that actually, because most of the time when people have issues with PvP, it's because honestly they're stubborn and they're unable to they'll be doing something and they'll get camped and they'll get that ganked and camped and it's bad. But then it's like, okay, we'll just go to another area, come back a little later, or get a guildie to help you. But it's like they're unwilling to do that and they become upset that the PvP is stopping them from doing exactly what they want right now. And it's like, as Lenny said, that's sort of the fun, is having to adjust and change and live in the world and have it affect you in a way that isn't just following the same quest lines over and over. And how often, like in my mind, the only time that I can think of that really somebody's locked something out was that time during the AQ event when all those guilds locked out that one guild from getting their scepter quest done.
Friend of the show, Ampy.
Yeah, by camping the dragon. That's the bronze dragon. So but that took every guild on the server coming together as an Avenger style team up to do something like that. And I will say, during the AQ event, you also had the situation where Celotis in general was tough if you weren't a member of the major guilds that were working on that. But, again, for me, I just was like, all right, I just won't go to Celotis for a little bit. And the other thing I wanted to point out is I think that one thing that the WoW Classic dev teams have really well and has gone surprisingly under the radar in terms of discussion on hardcore is how well they've dealt with griefers and trolls. That was a really huge concern going into the hardcore servers, was what do we do with the people? And to a T. There was like a week where there was like rumors that you could come in with some buff from Swamp of Sorrows and kill Lobies in Stormwind, but then it just disappeared. They just handle it. I hope and I get the feeling if something is actually happening, like you're describing, Josh, where there's like a critical rune that is like the tanking room for shamans or whatever it is, that is getting completely and utterly griefed. I think the WoW Classic team will be able to step in and deal with it.
But that's the unique circumstance I am describing here. So I want to make that clear. Like I don't think the fucking Silithus thing is necessarily a one-to-one comparison, because I'm talking about like far more, infinitely more important stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And but one of the cool things about Season Discovery is that's going to change, right? One of the things we missed with Classics release in 2019 versus Vanilla was in Vanilla you had things changing all the time. They'd make updates and they'd realize, oh, this thing is broken and doesn't work, or people are using this, and they change it. And Season Discovery is going to bring that back that we didn't have in Classic 2019, right? Like I have no doubt if it turns out there is one rune or something that is just like abusable and griefable and it's becoming a nightmare, they'll just patch it. Like that's the cool thing about this is like this is a thing that is going to be living and changing. So I don't have as much of a concern, because even if it does get to that extreme point you're mentioning, Josh, I actually, for the first time in a long time, have faith that the WoW Classic team will like change it, will do something about it.
And so do I, and that's why I'm yelling it out, saying, guys, I'm sure they've got the wherewithal to kind of avoid an extreme situation, and hopefully that is the case. But look, I'm not sitting here, I'll get so much hate for this one, but like I'm not sitting here saying world PvP shouldn't exist. And I know you're joking, and it's like the go to retail kind of Care Bear kind of thing. Like, mate, you'll see how I feel about world PvP very soon, if you don't already know. So it ain't that, but I just, like I said, I envisioned a situation where like people would jump on the forums and be like, hey, I can't get Bloodlust and no one on my server can, and this is a bit weird. But anyway.
I mean,
you go for it.
Fair. But like I'm just sitting here listening to you guys like argue over little things like runes, and I'm just like rubbing my hand, chuckling to myself, thinking about what the complete insanity is going to be at every leveling stage unlocked. It's going to be hilarious.
Oh, it's going to be wild. This season is going to be so much fun. But I think it really underscores, like I said, this season is really and Gren's tweet was beautiful in that I loved the sort of very hard look in the mirror undertones of it, where he was like, look, you really need to sort out how you feel about PvP servers before you do this thing. Like, this is not a decision you make lightly with this season. And I think that is really important. And we've seen pushing up Peace Bloom, the Countdown affiliated guild, they've made a big decision recently to go PvE. They had a big guild vote, and a lot of people did look themselves in the mirror and say, never again. Like, I'm not doing it. I'm too old. I'm too ugly. I'm too fucking, impatient to fucking do a PvP server in WoW Classic again. And I understand that. I get where they're coming from. Fuck, I was considering it for a second even, but, hardcore pushed me back to the arms of PvP because I just felt like there was something missing when I played hardcore. But yeah, how do you guys feel about, people are saying that PvE servers, there's a chance, just a chance, that PvE servers could be a lot more popular this time around, or more popular than PvP servers, because people are fucking over it. What do you think?
I think this statement is going to bring that right back. That this has given PvP a new life, because I know I wanted to go PvP, but I also was kind of on the fence. But this pushed me towards it.
People are pretty torn. Like, there's people that are really keen to try, to go back to PvP, because it's been a hot minute since we had fresh PvP servers. But on the other side of things, I know there's people that just want PvE because they're sick of the toxicity of PvP, and that's fair. And also, from the hardcore perspective, because you brought it up before, as far as I know, there's going to be no official hardcore setup at this moment in time for Season of Discovery. But I know there's quite a few people that are going to go to the original hardcore challenge for Season of Discovery, and for that they're going to need PvE as well.
This this statement really was the shot in the arm that PvP servers needed, because, you know, people were so unsure with launch so close. People were so unsure about how they felt about it, and I'm sure this will sway a lot of people back over to the PvP side of things. I want to say this one statement about PvP servers and see how you guys feel about it. I mentioned this in the Discord a couple of days ago, where I said, look, I think it's wonderful that faction balance is being looked at. This is beautiful. This is what a PvP server needs. As close to 50-50 as possible goes without saying. My estimation, though, is that there are far more players out there that say the only thing that stops me from falling in love with a PvP server is faction balance. If there was parity, I'd love it. If I was on a 50-50 server, I love PvP. I walk up to a lot of those players and I say bullshit. And I'll tell you why I'm calling them out on their bluff. Because I think that even on a faction balanced server, to the T 50-50, there's a lot of players, and I mean a fucking lot of players, who still don't enjoy PvP because they can't handle a loss and they only want a PvP when they are good and ready. It's the old, like, no, you wait over there. Oh, okay, you want to come world PvP? Let me just pop this pot and pop this shield, and I'll pop another pot over here. No, don't come near me yet. I'm still not ready. I'm still like getting my shoes and socks on. You know, that kind of player exists when they don't realize that's not how fucking PvP servers work. It is like, get in there, get dirty. I don't care if you're not ready. The amount of players that I've killed at full health, and they've said, like, they've jumped on and been like, mate, I fucking wasn't ready. Cunt, you're running around like, you know, from point A to point B at 100% health on a PvP server. What am I supposed to do? Ask you if you're interested in muskets at dawn? It's fucking ridiculous. But
you don't have to show out the whispers I've sent to you, okay?
Yeah. But on those lines, how do you guys feel when I say, even with the parity server, I feel like there are people who won't quite like PvP like they say they will?
That's always the case. I mean, like Gren put it, right? It's like everybody loves a PvP server until they lose, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there are people who genuinely, like, I love getting into even fights. Like, when I lose, if it was a good fight, like, I feel like I learned something, like, that's always good. But yeah, I think most people, they do want a 50-50 balance. But then when they're in the world, they'd like them to have the advantage, right? It's like, that's just this natural instinct. We all want to win. I think it's interesting. I do think as time has gone on, and as the top end of players have gotten better and better at PvP, I think what you do see, and what I've noticed, is like this issue of players who are just sort of average players, right? Which is fine. That's most people, and are, you know, maybe average at PvP or get stressed out by it because it can be very stressful. They get like just rolled by these players who are like expert players who play 14 hours a day, who know every in and out of their class and have all these tools and trinkets that you never think of. It's like, I'm sorry, did you just like summon like a pig? What is that? Like, or a chicken or something? And it's kicking my ass. Like, and I think as that gap has increased, it has made PvP less enjoyable for your, you know, average players. I do think people still like. I mean, I love PvP servers for the dynamism. Not sure I said that right. I think a lot of people do, and you know, I think saying that, oh, most people don't actually, you know, don't actually want PvP servers is kind of underlined by the fact that historically PvP servers, at least with vanilla, have always done way better than PvE servers in terms of population numbers. And I don't know, like, that can't just be a few of top end people really like it and everybody else is just there because they have to be.
Alenia, no name. Let me throw this one out to you guys because I really want to focus in on something Tim raised then, and also what was mentioned in highlighting what was mentioned by a Grand in that. I mean, fuck, I'm not here to be, you know, all the WoW player base's fucking psychologist or anything, but in selecting a PvP server, you really do need to be okay with losing. And like, it doesn't make you less of a person. It doesn't make you a fucking horrible gamer or anything. Everyone loses in World PvP and Classic WoW. That's how it works. Doesn't mean you got a small dick. It's just fucking numbers sometimes. How do you feel about Well, God, this is a fucked up question. I'm so sorry, Elenia, to dump this on you. How do you feel about in 2023 WoW players or even gamers' relationship with losing and reconciling with that before selecting what kind of server they're going to be on?
Yeah, thanks for dumping that one.
You can hit, so you get to use your one pass if you want.
Okay, so I have a feeling that, like you said, there's always going to be an element of people whose, you know, their point of existence on the Dunning-Kruger scale doesn't quite match up with where they're at in terms of skills. But I feel still that it's secondary to me the whole point of having a PvP server, which is, you know, player versus player, like having those situations crop up that you would never get on a PvE server, where you've got that unexpected element of, you know, other people with other intentions coming across you that can mess with what you're trying to achieve. And to me, that's always like, you know, where the best stories come into play. And I mean, yeah, being okay with losing is a life skill that Blizzard is providing to us for free without a subscription of $19.99 per month. They're the world's cheapest psychologist in teaching you how to suck it up on a PvP server and accept that maybe you're not that a bag of chips. And, you know, should that be a bad thing? No, I don't think it should be a bad thing. I think that's a good thing. Being able to suffer and joke afterwards about having PTSD from phase 2 is part of the experience, I think.
No Name, how do you think, in the same vein of what I was asking Elenia, how do you think many of the players will react to a 50-50 server where sometimes they are used to having that faction superiority where, like, hey, you can't beat me. I got 10 of my boys behind me and you've got no one. Do you think that 50-50 is going to be really okay with a lot of people?
I think unless there's proof that it's 50-50, both factions are going to think they're outnumbered.
100%. 100%.
Yeah. I think they need a little disclaimer, like in hardcore servers for Season of Discovery for the PvP servers, be like, we're trying something. It's going to be what it is. You got to click the box and say, okay. Like, I think they need something like that to give people the warning.
Yeah.
That plus the whole thing. Every time I've rolled in a different faction, like if I'm on Alliance, everybody on Alliance is like, why are Horde players all evil people? They're all terrible. All they do is gank. And then when I'm Horde, they say it about Alliance. It's one of my favorite things.
Oh, it's the best. They all point, it's the fucking Spider-Man meme. We've been joking about it for years. And I swear to God, every time we bring it up, Tim, there's always someone, they'll do it right now. There's always someone in chat that goes, no, but seriously, Horde does gank more than the Alliance.
That's like every time you hop into a BG, you play against a pre-mid.
Yeah. Oh my God. All right, guys.
It's sort of the culture of playing an undead, to be fair, you know? Having played on private servers, it's the undead who gank. You know, the Horde get a bad rap. If you roll undead and you don't gank someone, you're almost not giving them the proper PvP experience.
They did when I finally leveled an undead rogue to 60. I suddenly, in my 30s, found this strange desire to start like hunting people in the open world. And I got it was so much fun. I understood it finally.
We got Tim in the chat now saying Muskets at Dawn sounds like a cool talent name. I'm writing that one down. Mate, Tim, I'm telling you, you fucking just get me in the office, baby. I've got all the names. I got your server names. I got your fucking ability names. I've got it all. Just, sit down. We'll get the notepad out. I'll sort you out. It's all good. Guys, on the one thing we haven't discussed, look, we talked about the potential for a bounty system, and it sounds like they've got something up their sleeves in regards to PvP and Season of Discovery. Another thing being floated around, and I want to hear, I don't want to get too controversial on this one, and I also don't want to go for too long, but another thing being floated around in the world of guesses, like if you had to guess at what might be coming in Season of Discovery that mixes things up in the PvP department, some people are putting their money on a potential for lobby ganking to be addressed. Do you guys think, we'll get into whether or not you think this is a good thing or a bad thing. Do you guys think that's a realistic thing?
Or lobby ganking.
You're all for it, Alenia? Yep. Do you think that they would actually take it away?
No, I hope they don't.
Okay. Who outside of hopes and dreams, who wants to guess whether or not they would or not?
So you've heard rumors of this? I know we were.
No. I've not heard any rumors. This is just what the Discord's been discussing, going like, we think they might do this.
Oh no, I don't think they're going to do it. I mean, as much as I'd like to see it, I doubt they're going to do it. There's too many parameters to set to also make it like work, and I don't think they want to, dip their toe into that at this point.
Yeah,
I don't see that happening. There's no way.
I'm also like, I'm sort of with Lenya. I don't like lobby ganking sucks, and you're a fucking piece of garbage if you do it. But that being said, it's also provided some of my favorite memories. Not me ganking lobbies, but
Sure.
One of my favorite memories was in Classic, and there was famously on our server this fucking jackass night elf level 60 hunter who would run around hills.
Everyone remembers Slander.
Right, you remember Slander.
I remember fucking Slander, the piece of shit.
Exactly. And I remember I was leveling through there on my alts because my first level through I was beat him to 60 or whatever, so I never encounter him. I'm there. I'm like, I hear people say he hunts this place all the time, and sure enough, I'm like an hour into leveling there, and he shows up and he kills me, and I'm like, in guild chat, I'm like, oh man, fucking Slander just got me. I guess it's real. And as soon as I said that, Balls of Steel Mike is like, in your group, I'm going hunting. And Mike dropped whatever he was doing, rolls out there, and proceeds for the next 2 hours to gank Slander mercilessly, ran that dude back to Stormwind, or not to South Shore. And it was so cool to have like a guildie just like jump up and come and be like, here you go, like let's kill this guy. Like that was a really fun day. And that doesn't happen unless Slander's being an asshole ganking low.
That's true, and everyone talks about the beauty of villains that arise through emergent gameplay. Look, the only thing I would say, not to rain on the parade, and I don't want to get into it, but the only thing I would say is I love that story. The issue is those stories are incredibly rare, in my opinion. But I don't look. I guess if you guys all think that oh, and by the way, on the Slander thing, Tim, my last comment on him would be, I thought it was like, funny, I guess, to a certain extent, but then when I saw him roll on Season of Mastery and do it all again for another year, I realized like something was going on there. Like, yeah,
because I played Ally Season of Mastery, I ran into him in an AV, and I was like, "Is this that Slander?" And he just was like, "Yeah," and I'm like, I don't know what to do with that. He was just so nonchalant about it.
He literally, for like almost 3 years, sat in Hillsbrad every day and killed lobies. It was bizarre, to say the least.
It's a weird thing, man. But yeah, I mean, I get the only thing I could think of in terms of if we're talking like wish list stuff that they might, I don't know, fix. I mean, like it can suck if somebody, like lobby ganking is one thing. It can suck if you're getting like mercilessly camped and can't do anything about it. That would be the only thing where it's like, if you've been killed by the same player like 4 or 5 times, then maybe you get a sort of situation where you can't fight, like sort of you get like a pally bubble, right? Like you can't fight back, but you're immune for 20 seconds, so you can run away or you can hearth out. So it's not saying you can keep fighting there or you can kill them. It's just like you can get out of there. Maybe that, but that's the only thing I can really think of.
My favorite ongoing theory is Lich's theory, Alenia, that I'm Slander. I fucking love it.
Well, we've never seen you both in the same
place at the same time. Yeah, I know. Oh my god.
True.
Oh dear. Anyway, guys, look, let's start to wrap this one up, and I'll just say, anyone give their final thoughts that we haven't talked about. Fred, anything that we haven't dived in on that you've been gagging to say about PvP realms in Season of Discovery? Look, I think this is all really, really good news. It makes me really excited. I think there might even be some guilds that have picked PvE that might be like, going, oh shit, I don't know, let's see how we go.
No, I mean, same stuff I said before, which is that we saw before that they do nothing, it's going to be catastrophic. So the fact that they're looking at it it's very exciting. I'm super pumped for it. And I think any solution is better than no solution. And I think the solution of specifically faction-based queues, which I do think that tweet was saying, is way better than nothing. Again, I would prefer gerrymandering layers, but hey, I'm more than happy to take this if it means we won't have every server die and become a 100-0 PvE server, as we're purportedly supposed to be doing world PvP events in Ashes.
Let me say one quick thing. Sorry, we'll go out on this question. I'll start with you, maybe No Name, and we'll go around the group. I guess it's hard to project, but had this news not come out today, was your head leaning in the direction that these Season of Discovery servers on the PvP side were going to start turning into Alliance servers?
Yeah, I wanted to go Horde PvP. That was my plan, but with just reading everything on, Reddit or whatever, Alliance looked like the dominant faction. Everybody's still talking about Salvation, even though I think Horde's going to get that anyway. But this pushed me right back to, this is where I wanted to go. Horde PvP is where I started way back in vanilla, and I haven't played it since, and I want to go back to it. So this pushed me right back into playing Horde again.
I'm glad. I've had a similar feeling where I was like, I was always going to go Horde, but I was feeling a little bit uneasy about oh man, look, in 6 months' time, am I going to be on an 80-20 Alliance Horde server? But this news today has completely, blown that out of the water for the most part for me, going, oh great, something is fucking new, something's being done. That's awesome. I feel really good. I can play the faction I want to fucking play, and Horde, baby, let's fucking go. So I feel great about it.
Yeah, I'm pumped.
That's the way. How about you other guys? Were you leaning that this was going to go Alliance without this news?
Yes, I think it was going to lean towards Alliance, and I think just the announcement by itself that they're going to be working on trying to keep the factions balanced on these mega servers should help on its own to encourage balance.
Very good. Fred, Tim?
Yeah, no, I think it did seem like people were leaning Alliance, which is so funny to me, because it's like we're capped 25 right now, guys. Like, you really gotta base your long-term choice based on what might be the meta at 25 in Black Fathom Deep. All right, so yeah, I think this will be helpful. I think it's exciting. I'm certainly excited about this, and I know Pushing Up Peace Bloom is officially going. They're going Horde, which is cool because we're Alliance on hardcore. But they are going PvE, which is a little disappointing to me. So me and a few of the other old Countdown crew, I think we're going to be on a PvP server and wreaking havoc in a death ball of 5 of us for some periods through Ashenvale. Should be fun.
Sir, how dare you be a voice of reason, particularly on the Countdown to Classic podcast?
I know. I'm sorry. I'll try to be better.
Yeah.
I'll try to channel some of my rants I have anytime North is speaking when I'm listening in the car.
Yeah.
I'll bring that energy next time.
Mate, this is the realm of shit takes and general fuckheadery. How dare you? Fred, take us out, mate. What were your thoughts on all that?
Yeah, no, agreed. And I want to echo Elenia's point. I thought was very astute that the fact that they've announced now that they're going to be looking at future things to address a faction balance, I think does in fact, just by itself, just making that announcement will lead to people picking, the faction they actually want to play instead of looking at this sort of min-max thing, right? Because before you're saying I have to pick Alliance, no matter what, I have to pick Alliance, going to get wrecked. And then even if they don't do anything, though I really hope they do stuff, the fact that they've said that they're going to look into it, I think just by itself will make you breathe a sigh of relief and actually, pick the faction you want to pick. And I would point to Nost and Elysium, which were 55-45 servers, one actually opposite directions. So I think just naturally, without any of this sort of selection bias, at least in vanilla WoW, people do tend to pick towards a faction balanced server. So I'm very hopeful.
We shall see if we start getting all the Reddit comments about fucking, Alliance used to be my friend. Now I'm best friends with Horde. We'll see what happens. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Let me send you all out. You've been brilliant. No Name Miller, first time caller. Mate, you were excellent. Thank you so much.
Hey, thanks for having me. Fun talking with you guys.
Absolutely, brother. Hey, Tim, mate, thanks so much again.
Yeah, always great to be on. Happy to jump on, and you're really sorry we couldn't push this out to 10 hours and beat your record.
Oh my god! I mean, here we are. I fucking published a 9.5-hour podcast last night, and wake up and produce another hour and a half just now with you guys. People are going to think I'm the fucking...
Maybe.
We talk about Slander's got a problem, mate. People are going to talk about me having a problem soon.
Yeah, out here ganking lobies in the Discord chat.
Oh, Alenia, mates, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. Always to say my pleasure, your risk. I just want to say thank you very much to everyone that's contributed their 5 cents in this conversation in the town hall on YouTube. Those comments have been really valuable in adding to the conversation too. And thanks to the devs for dropping in with their 5 cents also.
Absolutely. Hey, Alenia, you mentioned sort of lightly you'll be speedrunning, yeah, at the start?
Yeah, I'll be speedrunning Super Sweaty to 25. Why not?
Very good. Good luck in the race. I presume there's a little bit of an organised race on already.
I mean, maybe.
Maybe.
Can't confirm or deny that.
You're just racing Mike.
No. There'll be quite a few people that'll be pumping. I haven't seen an organised spot for it, but you might see something crop up on some streamers somewhere.
Yeah, too easy. Fred, mate, thank you so much. I know you were super keen to talk PvP, and we got some good news to get your teeth stuck into it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was very keen. So thanks for having me on, and I'm going to look forward to watching those races on stream as well.
Very good. All right, guys, give me 1 sec. I'm going to end this recording. Bang, done. Guys, thanks so much. That was awesome. Went a little bit longer than I planned, but that's fucking standard for me. Yeah, thank you. No, I was really happy. I was really happy with this news. It's fucking awesome. I hope that call gave the impression to everyone listening at home, like, I'm very, very excited about this, and you should be excited about this too.
Oh, it's huge.
Yeah, definitely. No, I think you were asking some like critical questions, but they were more like you're a podcast host and you need to get conversation going. You know what I mean?
God, I'm going to get so much fucking hate mail over my PvP takes.
Did you get a lot of hate mail?
No, I don't.
Let me write some up for you.
Yeah, just
real quick. Let's.
Yeah, I got some things to say.
Yeah, sweet. No, it's funny because like I've in the past I've gone on about my fucking golden rules of PvP. I was going to say on the podcast I'm going to have to. I know this is funny, and whether you call it hypocritical or not, I'm going to have to abandon them all for Season of Discovery. If honor is involved and you're trying to rank and shit, I can't be doing the whole like, oh, I only fight people at 100% health and, do all the right things and everything and expect them to do right by me. None of that is going to fucking happen. It's going to be a bloodbath. Everyone's just got to be shitheads.
Yeah, and like, I mean, you have like an extreme level on that where it's like I sometimes wonder if you could be a rogue. Like, well, I can't, because people do that with rogues sometimes. They'll be like, it's just bullshit. It's unfair. They're stealth, and I can't see them till they open up on me. And it's like, yeah, that's
literally how it works. Yeah. No, the worst I've heard, Tim, was not even for rogues, where people have argued that any opener in world PvP is unfair. Like it almost like everything had to start out like a duel. Like if I wasn't ready and consenting, then that's bullshit. And I was like, mate, that really sounds like you should not be on a PvP server.
Yeah, 100%. If that's the case, it's I think it's fine. Like if I'm if I'm out in the world and I'm like at half health or something, and somebody runs up and is like my level and it starts to fight with me, and they kill me, then I'm like, shit. Like I'm a little annoyed, but I'm like, such is the game. It's up to me as well to have like my head on a swivel. That's the reason I like hardcore, because you have to have your head on a swivel for different reasons. If I'm not playing hardcore, I have to do PvP because I just otherwise it's just kind of a little dull.
Yeah, agreed. I think Josh brought that up earlier when he was talking about hardcore, not this call, but another call. And I think that's 100% right. The head on the swivel. I'm super excited about the news. I would say, like, I also agree. Like, if you get ganked in PvP and like that puts you off of it. Like, it's just not for you. I mean, when I think of my best experiences playing on the PvP servers, I always would run an add-on, not Spy, but a similar add-on that would like keep track of anyone who's ganked me. I would not gank anyone. Well, very rarely would I gank someone with for no reason, but I had this kill list, and when someone was near me who had ganked me, I get this loud flash on my screen, and then I immediately go after and kill them, and that was very satisfying.
Well, that's the best part of Spy is the kill on side list.
Yeah, it's true. As one of the few people that's got the PvP achievement for hardcore, I say, like, you know, if you find it a bit boring, you
Oh
probably
my
won't
God.
have to easy for yourself.
You did the PvP achievement for hardcore?
I did.
Good lord. Good work.
Not
What's
good for
that
your blood
achievement?
pressure. You complete. This is like the unofficial, like the original hardcore, where it was like solo self-found, but you basically go to 60 in hardcore mode, with your PvP flag turned on the entire way.
Hey, Burbones, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Hey, man, how you going? Thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me, and thanks for doing all the podcast work and all the work you do. I've
All
always
good.
enjoyed all the free hours of entertainment.
All good, mate. I'm not recording at the moment, but we're still live. Obviously, is there something you wanted to add in?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, the beauty about like world PvP and stuff is, like, even if you get opened up on, like, if you have Rocket Helm, like, you pretty much have a way out. Like, there's almost always a way out for every class. Like, even if you get opened up on, if you just get 1 second to Rocket Helm, like, you can get away. And, like, I feel like there's always like an interesting way to outplay like any situation, you know? And, like, I feel like what's really beautiful about like the imbalance of WoW PvP is like the rock, paper, scissors aspect. And, like, that's what I don't like. I don't want one class to be dominant in like every form all the time, and like everyone to be able to shine at different moments, you know? And that's where I feel like the balance comes from, like the imbalance in the rock, paper, scissors nature. You know?
And that's why I said on the recording yesterday or the day before, like, I agree with you, but like it's so hard where I'm on board with them adding new abilities to Season of Discovery, but I'm also wary because like you know, fuck, I play a warrior and I think it's amazing that Warbringer lets me get out of snares and roots and shit now. But, you know, I see all the other classes as well, and I asked to the guys, I was like, hey, like, not that I give a shit because I don't play one, but who the fuck are mages kiting anymore? Who are hunters kiting? They can all get on them now.
Yeah, for sure.
It's okay. Mages are just going to be perma healing themselves and laughing as everyone.
They're healers now anyway. We care.
25 is going to be bonkers. Like, we don't know what to expect going into this one. There's definitely going to be classes that are just unstoppable.
Yeah, well, that's the again. I mentioned that about the fun of the like old school vanilla, right? There will be like, there were times when there were just some of the classes were just utterly broken and dominant, and they had to nerf them. We're probably gonna have that again, and like it will be fun because for like a few weeks, you know, mages or warlocks or somebody will be broken powerful, and then we get to tell stories about. Oh, remember those crazy 2 weeks in December when like healing mages were unkillable?
1000% agree. And like, if the people that get upset about, like, really, really upset about that and go like, sort your fucking game out, Blizzard, like, that's not how MMOs work, man. Like, it's, you just have a bit of fun with it. Like, I don't know, like, crying on the forums about it. Like, yeah, obviously you bring it to the devs' attention or whatnot, you know, if something really needs to be reined in, but like, just embrace the fucking wackiness.
And I just want to throw out one other like cool idea that I thought of when you guys were talking about it. It was like,
sure.
Yeah, it's like the whole interaction of like some other, you know, guy in your guild coming to help you with the guy you're ganking. Like some sort of bounty system to make that interaction easier, where if like 30 level 20s threw in a gold and now there's 30 gold on this dude's head, and like someone could just stop doing in front of org just to go kill the dude to collect the 30 gold. Like that would be sick. And like I also really like the whole like the ear thing that they have in the Makara from Hardcore. Like I also think like almost even if it's like as simple and little as that, like you got ears for getting kills in world PvP, and like some asshole out there has like 100 ears or whatever, like just to be able, like I could see people leaving from dueling in front of org just to go kill that dude, just to take it, like just to take him down. Like if you just give people just a little incentive, I think it would be enough to like stop gankers in a lot of circumstances, and get that interaction going from people.
Real quick, by the way, I have to bounce. So great chat.
Thanks, man.
Love you guys. Can't wait to play with y'all.
Catch you later.
See ya.
See you, mate. I've got to head off too. I've got things to do.
Yeah,
But,
all good.
Thanks for having me.
Go for it, Alenia. See ya. Thanks, mate.
Love to everybody.
Yeah, guys.
Hey, thanks.
All good. Fred, were you going to say something? Sorry.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know how much longer you're going to have the chat going. I was going to say on the bounty system. Well, I think it's good. I think the word you've hit on there is incentive, which I agree with, and that's why I want to make sure that the gameplay that we're incentivizing is good gameplay. And so, like, people yesterday when there was this big discussion of whether we should stop killing grays and make that not allowed, people were like, well, what if you do a bounty system instead? If you do a bounty system, like, it's also fun to be the target of a bounty. What you're doing is you're encouraging players to kill, gray levelers, because then you get a bounty on you and it's cool. Like, so I'm happy to do a bounty system, but what triggers the bounty system has to be some gameplay that we actually like. And I think, like, the classic example is, like, you brought up the string of ears. Okay, maybe if you get a string of 10 ears on you, so whenever you die, you lose all the ears you had on you. If you get a string of 10, then you automatically get a bounty on you, or something like that. And then you only get the ears from killing players of, like, around the same level as you or something, right? And all of a sudden, we've encouraged this world PvP in Ashensville to happen. And the gameplay that encourages it is, like, killing other players around your level instead of some toxic behavior like corpse camping or killing a lobby. And I use toxic, air quotes around toxic. I know it's a funny word for gamers, but anyway, that's my take on the bounty system, is that you have to make sure you're incentivizing good behavior by awarding a bounty instead of bad. Thank you.
I think it's good as long as.
All right, well, I'll try to catch you guys next time for sure.
Too easy. Thanks, man. Thanks for dropping by.
Yeah. And let me just throw out one other idea just for people to think about. Like, I do think, again, like, with, like, sideways progression and, like, horizontal progression, like, kind of what people always talk about, like, I really don't think you need to incentivize the WoW player, like, that much. Like, you could literally have, like, a stat increase of, like, 1 point, or things be, like, just cosmetic or just ears, like, little trivial things, like, and people will go out for, like the smallest advantage, even if it's, like, the smallest piece of stat, like, where it doesn't erase other content, like, it doesn't make BWL irrelevant, but it's like, it's just one other place where you can get equally as good gear almost, and it's like, people will do it just for cosmetics. Like, not everything needs to be like this increase in progression that erases everything else.
I'm in full agreement with that. Keep in mind you're talking to somebody who wanted to make changes to Classic originally, but I'd always thought that there was way too much of a spike from AQ to BWL, and Nax as well as, like, a crazy power spike compared to BWL. And, like, it's basically a totally different game with different balance at that point, because the gear is way too high level. And I have the exact same point you make right now, which is you could nerf that gear so that AQ is just barely above BWL and Nax is barely above AQ, and people will still get the gear, because if it has +1 strength on it, people are going to get it. You don't need to make the Nax gear twice as strong. People are going to want it either way.
Yeah, I agree totally.
All
right, well, good talking to you guys. I'm gonna try to catch you guys next time you're recording.
No worries. Thanks, Burbones. No name. Sorry, were you going to say something before?
Oh no, I was gonna exactly what he just said. As long as, like, the reward for something like that, I like the idea of ears. It actually got me excited right now thinking about it. But a bounty, like anything that gives you gold or any kind of power creep or anything like that, I don't like it because it's too easy to be abused. You could just have a second account that gets up to the point where they need a bounty, and then you go kill them, and then you get rewarded.
So, No Name, you're going PvP?
I think I'm 100% doing it now.
Yeah, nice.
That's such a ninja idea. That's so you raise your bounty on your second character.
Exactly, and then
and you collect it yourself.
Got 50 gold every, you robbed to kill myself 10 times.
That's so fucked up. That's so funny.
Fred, you're locking in PvP, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I played PvP on private servers because it was in the options. I played PvP when I actually played vanilla. I played PvP on Classic. I love PvP. I mean, there's no question. When I played hardcore, I mean, you said it quite well. I don't remember. This must have been several episodes ago now at this point, where you were talking about how hardcore pushed you to play PvP. And that was my first time on a PvE realm. And I'm like, oh my God, this is boring as shit while I'm leveling. Like, if not for the fact that this was hardcore and there were, like, actual stakes, this is terrible.
It's like that feeling when you go out and or when you go to the airport and like you've left something at home and you're like, I feel like I'm like something's missing. What the fuck is it? And that's how I felt the whole hardcore experience. I was like, I don't know if I could put my finger on it. What the fuck am I missing? Like something's not here that should be. It's like, oh yeah, fucking excessive like world PvP engagements.
Yeah, I mean, when I was in Stranglethorn Vale and I didn't see 50 skeletons at Nessingwary's camp, I'm like, this is just not home for me.
Yeah.
Which speaking of which, the level 40 cap is going to be nuts in STV. Level 40 cap, like that's going to be just a bloodbath. You got to get through your STV hunting quests ASAP, otherwise it's going to be impossible on a PvP server.
It'll be fucking wild. But yeah, it's just like PvP is just free content that the devs don't actually have to make. It's amazing. Just like all the emergent gameplay. You can do anything you want. It's fucking great. I love it. But anyway, guys, I might. It's lunchtime here. I better get off and stop streaming and have some lunch and a coffee, or I'll fucking die. Thanks so much for doing all this, guys. I really appreciate it. I'll throw this one I'll do another episode before launch that I'll probably release on like, I don't know, fucking Monday or something. We'll see how we go. But yeah, thanks so much, guys. It's been fun.
Thank you. That was really fun.
Thanks for having me. And keep in mind, Thursday's a major holiday here in the US. So if you're trying to time your release when people have free time, people are traveling, taking flights to go home and go, see their family. So that Friday and Saturday, if you want a lot of visits, or rather listens, might be ideal.
True. Do you mean this Thursday?
Yeah, this Thursday is Thanksgiving.
Oh, right. No. I won't have enough time because they've got the 9.5 hours I dropped yesterday to get through. So that's what they.
That's true.
That's what they can.
That's
do.
what they'll listen on the flights for sure.
Yeah. So everyone can fucking thank me for that one. Yeah, for traveling to see the family, but I've got Countdown in my pocket, so it's all good. All right, guys, I'll catch you later.
All right, take care, everybody.
See ya. All right, stream. Thanks so much. That was a fun one, guys. I'm going to be streaming Season of Discovery. I figured that would go without saying. There'll be some gameplay, on a PvP server on this very stream, on this YouTube channel. So please, if you like the cut of my jib, if I'm the kind of streamer that you fucking vibe with, then please do keep an eye out. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and you'll get all the updates. And yeah, we'll have a lot of fun once this game is out. Like I said, there's a 9.5. Can I just show you guys? If I jump on, I'll show you my browser. 1 second. Go down to classic Spotify. And I'll pull that up on the old OBS. Okay, guys. So look, if you go into, if you type in Google, Countdown to Classic Spotify, this is my podcast. If you don't know who the fuck I am, this is what I do. It's my main avenue. I'm not really as big of a video content creator. Like I don't do as much streaming or YouTube or anything. I do a bit more now, but as you've seen over the last few weeks. But this is my main thing, the podcast. Please do go and check it out if you haven't already. I'm insane. I dropped a 9.5 hour episode, which sounds stupid, but it's just 9 1-hour conversations about the classes in Season of Discovery. If you're having trouble picking, go and have a listen to that. You might have a good time. And yeah, we'll stream some gameplay on launch, and I love you all, and I'll catch you all in the next stream. Peace. Thanks, guys.